And we are back. Welcome to IFA 2015 in Berlin. We are still in Hall 16. That means we are at the Intel booth in the Intel TechLounge, giving you all the updates of the biggest consumer electronics show in the world, which is IFA, at least in terms of visitors. And once again, what am I doing with my hair? Constantly when I'm coming back onto the stream, just need to tuck it underneath my head. Guys, we're gonna talk about something that is, Jesus. I love solid-state technology, storage technology, since I've got my first. You know what? Actually, I didn't get my first. I got my first SSD back in 2007, but I've had my first flash drives. In those days, you could connect them directly on an IDE port on a main board. That is like almost 14 years ago. So we're going to talk about flash memory, we're going to talk about some very, very fast one, and we're going to talk about SSDs. And this is why we have Gert Pauwels over here from Intel.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, fine, yeah, nice event, great.
You know what, in terms of how much sleep we got last night, we're pretty much on the same level here, right?
Yeah.
You also had a very, very early flight.
Early travel, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry about this. I feel for you. Right? And if you see me every one and then yawning, it's not because of Gert and because of this topic. It is just because I'm really exhausted right now, and that's why I'm not getting enough oxygen in here.
Yes, it's okay. Not too bad here.
Let's talk about SSDs.
Yep.
I told you already, my life is too short for mechanical hard disk drives or ordinary hard disks. I haven't had a device without an SSD since 2007.
Yes,
I just can't deal with it anymore. I can't go back.
No, once you were there with SSDs, performance is so great, so fast. Everything boots so fast that going back is not really an option.
You know what's interesting? When I did the first SSD test, I was doing videos. I think it was 8 gigabyte SSD, and I was starting an office suite, and I got called out on a couple of tech forums in Germany telling me that I loaded it out of the hot cache, right? Because they couldn't believe it at that time how fast an SSD could be. Right. And now we're living in a world where we're using SSDs in RAID systems, and like each and every notebook basically has an SSD right now, and you can get proper SSDs for, it's not so expensive anymore. Right?
No, prices came down a lot over the years, and that will continue like that.
Tell us a little bit about Intel in the SSD market. When did it start, and when did you join Intel?
Well, the SSDs, it started a while ago. In 2007, we had those X25 SSDs, which were still on the older SATA interface bus. That evolved and later on to the SATA 3 bus, where you had the double amount of bandwidth that you could use. So SSDs got faster and better. Also, capacity increased over time. Later on, and more recent, on the bus interface level, for instance, we moved to NVMe drives. So that's what we have now available for clients too. So Intel was the first one to release a drive with an NVMe interface. Also, capacities increased. So you were talking about 8 gigabyte, but these days we have those client drives. They do have 1.2 terabytes. So that's 1,200 gigabytes, so much bigger and much faster.
Well, you also have some hardware with you.
Yes.
This is a quite interesting one because this is, you might think, oh my God, these SATA buses look quite different. But this is a PCI Express, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's a PCI Express card. So there are two form factors of it, in fact. What you see here, that's a half height, half length drive. That fits in a PCI Express slot, like you can see here like you have those video cards. They are that kind of form factor. But you also have what we call now the U.2 form factor, and that's a 2.5-inch drive. I don't have that one with me, but it looks like a regular drive, like you used to see from spinning drives. So 2.5-inch wide and then 15 millimeters thick, and it fits the same capacity as these ones, and that goes up to the 1.2 terabyte.
Well, if you compare this to a SATA 6
Yes.
connection, which is like
Yeah.
limited, obviously,
Yes.
to 6 gigabit a second.
Yes, that's right.
So now that was a little bit of a bottleneck because actually
Yeah,
the
it was.
drives became, or the flash memory
Yes.
became much faster
Yeah,
than this
true.
bus could handle.
Yes, that's true.
Now just moving forward into PCI Express. How much of a performance advantage am I getting out of this?
That's quite a lot, because on read it's 4 times more, and on write it's 2 times more. That's quite a lot. And even that's on sequential reading and writing. If you do that on random read and write,
Right.
which is important for consumer type of workloads and gaming and that kind of stuff.
That's a small little files that are
small
getting
parts,
copied.
not just one big like you want to stream or so. In that case, it's even more. It's like 3 times the write and 4.5 the read. So that's an impressive change. And there's also something on top of it that we did. If you look to the older drives, they were using a host interface which was based or created for spinning drives originally, so a host interface. And that one is now replaced by what we call an NVMe Express interface.
Yeah.
And that interface is designed from the ground up for SSDs, taking into account that an SSD can write multiple things at the same time, but also that your system these days, they have multiple cores, not just one like in the past. So that driver takes benefit of those both sides, and you get a huge reduction in latency compared to what we had in the past.
Tell us a little bit about the performance of this little bad boy over there. So what is the read-write speed?
Yeah, it's about it's 2.4 gigabyte it can read per second. So that's like a full DVD. It just copied in 2 seconds from your drive to your main memory, for instance, which is important if you do stuff like gaming, for instance. You can load your whole world of your level just in a piece of a second, and that will also give you. If you think about it, you can have better textures and better content in your game due to the fact that you can just get more data from drive to.
Once again, you've heard that this is way over 2 gigabytes a second read speed.
Yes.
I remember a time where my RAM was way slower than this, right?
True. And this is non-volatile memory.
So actually, when you're living on the 15th floor, right? And you take a DVD with the latest Windows on it, I'm pretty sure that you can, when you throw this DVD out of the window, you could copy it faster from one SSD to the other SSD than this DVD will hit the ground.
True, correct.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, the huge advantage that you're taking off the PCI Express interface right now, which really opened up a whole new universe for performance of SSDs.
True, and I talked already a little bit about the 2 different form factors. And the nice part of the 2.5-inch form factor is the fact that you can put that drive everywhere in your platform. So it's not that it needs to fit on the motherboard somewhere like the one I have here with me, but the U.2 is with a cable coming from the motherboard, and it fits. You can fit it anywhere in that platform, and it allows you to design small systems and fancy systems too.
Yeah. Of course, people will ask about the price.
Yes.
I mean, there are different versions of it, right?
Yes,
it's starting at 128 or 256?
No, for this particular client device, NVMe client device, we have a 400 gigabyte, 800 gigabyte, and a 1.2 terabyte available. And the 400 gigabyte is some kind of sweet spot for gaming, because there you can put your OS on it together with your gaming content. But if you want to do more like on a workstation, some kind of video editing and that kind of stuff, then you need more. And then we have the 800 and the 1.2 gigabyte terabyte drives. And it's a price competitive drive. And these days, list price of that kind of devices is even less than $1 per gigabyte. Which is still something expensive. It's not very cheap. but you get a lot of value for it and a lot of
around
performance.
$400 for
Yes.
the entry level one.
Yeah, will be less even.
Yeah. Which is, but to be honest, when you look at the performance that you're getting out of it, is absolutely reasonable in my opinion.
Yeah.
And once again, I know that I'm always coming up with these old story, but I've had hard disk, traditional hard disk that cost more per gigabyte.
Yes, prices went down over time, and eventually there will be ones a crossover.
My first hard disk was 10 MB. It was for an old Mac. It was almost as big as the Mac.
And that's probably not so long ago.
Unfortunately, it is. I wish I could say it's not that long ago. Or it wasn't that long ago. But let's pick up some questions out of the chat. And once again, guys, if you have any questions regarding those technologies, regarding the products, just feel free to ask. So Jens is asking. About the life cycles. How many read-write cycles?
Yes.
Can the 750?
Then you're talking about endurance.
Yeah.
These client devices, they are designed to have that you can do 40 gigabytes per day.
Yeah.
That's the retention. That's
so 40 gigabytes a day, and then it will work forever. Oh, what's that? But
yes
for a very, very long time.
Yes.
Yeah. So 40 gigabytes a day, that's 20 seconds.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
There's also a difference. It's designed for typical client workloads.
Of course.
If you look to our data center drives, based on the same architecture, it goes up to 10 drive writes per day, and that's of course much more. So it depends on your workload what you want to do.
And like you've already mentioned in the beginning, right? The typical usage scenario for a consumer PC has a lot to do with really writing and loading a lot of small files, like maybe some even like 50 kilobytes or 150 kilobytes, system files, that you can cache on your SSD. So this is where a really fast SSD can really shine, to constantly read and write a lot of single files, and to do this in a proper performance. And I think the 750 is very, very competitive on this market.
It's the fastest on the market, and it's designed for it, and so it's the best you can find.
Yeah. Besides the 750 that you're showing here right now, during IDF you also had an announcement in terms of a new technology, and maybe you should tell us a little bit more about this.
At IDF we announced the Intel Optane technology. And Intel Optane technology is in fact a set of technologies that will enable Intel to build storage devices on system level. And to give you more details on that, so the Optane technology consists of what we call the 3D crosspoint memory technology, which is a new memory technology designed and created with Intel and Micron together. And that technology, together with the Intel storage controllers, with hardware and software for the interconnect, that all together is what we call the Intel Optane technology. And to give you a bit more about the 3D crosspoint technology, because that's also an interesting one. That's something completely different than the NAND that we are using these days. It has nothing to do with it. It's completely something else. And it's across. It's called crosspoint because you have a few layers of wires that are crossed with some material in between, and it's the property of that material that will store a 0 or a 1 at each cell. And it's designed for a performance, so it's 1,000 times faster than NAND on memory level, and the endurance is also around 1,000 times more. So you can keep writing practically you can keep writing to the same location, which is an issue with NAND. So that's a technology that will allow to even have faster SSDs and even in different ways.
During the opening keynote of IDF 2015, was also a little demo of Intel Optane on stage.
Yes.
And we could see the potential
True.
In terms of the performance, that was insane.
Yes, it was like 7 times faster if you just write all data sequentially and after each other. So it was not in parallel even, because then it will be more.
Yeah. So 7 times faster. I mean, guys, we've been already talking about this one, the performance of the.
Yes.
But let's say an average one, the benchmarking that they did on stage was in between, I think, 8 gigabytes a second, something like that, right? It was insanely fast.
Yes, it's incredible fast, yeah.
So this is something that will come to the market. That's your next big thing.
Yes.
And I think it will already start in 2016, right?
Yes, it was announced that we will have products in 2016.
Yeah.
So the memory technology, the 3D crosspoint, is sampling. It's in production. So it's a matter of designing, building products, testing products, and bringing them to market.
Yeah, yeah. So when we look at where Intel was coming, you've been already mentioning the iconic X25, right?
Yes.
Back in the days, this was actually for the very first time where Intel really got notice on the SSD market, because all of a sudden you've had pretty much the fastest SSD that was out there, and everyone was like, what, Intel is building SSDs now? And they're also building one of the fastest? This was something that you would have expected from, I don't know, maybe Kingston Technologies or Toshiba, or maybe Samsung entered the market a little bit later. Yeah. But still, all of a sudden, Intel became a player in this market. Yes. That must have been quite exciting.
Yes, it was. And that's because storage and SSDs is part of the overall platform technology, where you have the CPU as one part, you have the networking, you have the storage, and you need to balance that in your platform design. Yeah. So that's where Intel helped to push the market and then push the standards, like supporting NVMe Express and driving that, so that the power of the CPUs can be used, and vice versa.
Exactly. It's like you would never buy a Ferrari and then just drive it into in a 30 miles speed limit zone, right? Yes. For its life. And it's quite interesting to see how much of a bottleneck storage became over the years, and what performance gain we can. When I told it before we started, I said, you know what, I'm an SSD lobbyist, and I'm not getting paid by any SSD consortium or a flash memory maker. I'm an SSD lobbyist because I know what it does to people. I don't know how many times I've had readers asking me, what kind of new laptop should I buy? And I was like, how much do you want to invest? And they were like, oh my God, as cheap as possible. I said, what kind of laptop do you have right now? And I said, you know, how about investing like $200, 200 euros into a nice little SSD, and then send me an email, how you like it. And the feedback was absolutely amazing, especially when SSDs weren't that mainstream as they are right now, because people just had no idea what's going to happen to their system. It was a completely different. It is like, so shall I upgrade or update my CPU, or shall I go for an SSD? I would always say go for an SSD first. It adds so much extra performance to your system.
Yes, it helps you in boot times. Booting the OS is faster, but also starting applications goes faster. You can work faster because all those intermediate log files, it's all just quicker in opening and moving your data around in your platform. Yeah. So it's a great benefit there too,
So, I mean, I don't need to ask you what is running in your home system, right? It will be probably one of the 750s, huh?
I have some systems with different SSDs, of course.
I have some. I have some systems. Yeah. So what's? I mean, you've been already mentioning Optane as the next generation.
Yes.
Right. Do you think that sooner or later traditional hard disks will become obsolete? That we are going all flash?
Yeah, yes and no. What you see is the cost of SSDs and the capacity. No, the cost is going down and capacity is going up of SSDs. So you can expect sometime in the future some crossover where you're on both angles. So capacity of SSDs will be bigger than spinning drives, and that will be, I call it pretty soon. So it's maybe not as long as you think, because we also announced a few months ago, somewhere end of March or so, the 3D NAND technology from Intel, which is something completely different than the Optane we just talked about. Yeah. So the 3D NAND is in fact a successor of the regular NAND, the planar NAND we had. But now we build memory cells with the NAND technology in 3D, so you can stack them on top of each other, and that increases the capacity. So currently those dies, those flash chips with 3D NAND, they are 3 times bigger in capacity than the planar NANDs. Mm-hmm. So we announced that you can put up to or more than 10 terabyte in a 2.5-inch drive, and that will just increase over time, because still you can scale up in levels that you do in the 3D, but you can also still decrease and do it with a smaller lithography and Moore's law, in fact. Yeah. And as a result, you will just get higher capacities with cheaper prices due to Moore's law. So there will be a crossover in capacity first and in price later on too.
Can I quickly take a look at it, Gert?
Yes, please.
So guys, once again, which camera is it? This one, that one? Let's try this one. Trust me when I'm telling you, life is too short. You want to get a nice SSD. Right? And this is one of the finest that is out there. So this is the 750 series. Get them in 400, 800, and 1.2 gigabytes. Over 2 gigabyte a second read speed. And you will have a completely new PC if you're getting this into your system and onto your motherboard, right? So check it out. You can Google this, and I'm really, really more than happy to lobby for devices like this, because I know what it does to the users out there and how much it's going to change your life. So, Gert, thank you so much for joining us here. Yeah. Guys, we're going to have a little break of about 10 minutes, and then we're going to talk with 2 representatives of the Deutsche Bahn. So it's going to be all about traveling, and it's going to be quite interesting how such a traditional company made the digital transformation. And actually, I think this talk is going to be in German. So for those English fellows on the channel, I'm so sorry, guys. Now, finally, we have to address the German market. So the next 45 minutes will be in German, but we're going to be back soon. And then we also have at 4 Chris Silver. He's the director of marketing, the premium notebook division at Intel. And then we're going to take a look at some new devices. And I see you soon.